It's time to raise our sails. It's freedom like you never knew. Bags or a pass, say the word, I'll be there in a flash. You could say my hat is off to you. Oh, we can zoom all the way to the moon from this great wide wacky world. Jump with
Hi, and welcome to Seriously Pointless Conversations About Culture, your seriously pointless podcast about all your nerdy and geek things across New Donk City, James. That's right. How are you doing today, man?
I am doing well. I have been well caffeinated.
That's right. We had to do a double injection of caffeine for James today and myself because it's been a long couple of weeks, and
Yes.
we're trying to do a couple extra episodes back to back today. So we're caffeined up, and hopefully that'll get us through this episode today, which was about one of our favorite topics.
Super Mario Odyssey.
That is right. So this was an excellent, trying to just do a brief overview. Super Mario Odyssey is a 2017 platform game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo
Which
Switch.
was a big release title for the whole
It
series.
really was. And it's one of those games that really kind of just set the stage to show like, hey, this is what the Switch can do.
Mhm.
And it can do it well. It's a game specifically tailored towards the mechanics and the platform and the system.
Which has always kind of been the case with Nintendo systems in general.
Yep.
Even during kind of the darker Wii U years, the first party games that they develop for themselves are
Mhm.
always beautiful numbers. Like
Yeah.
the Zelda games, the Super Mario games. Like they developed them for the hardware, and it's always just amazing.
And unlike, I hate to say it, putting Skyrim on the Switch kind of did it a disservice in my opinion. It was a good idea, but it was graphically just rendered down to hell. You know, it's just
Yeah, and those type of like branching story options and stuff, just the mouse and keyboard format is better for that.
way better. So, but like you said, Nintendo just does an amazing job to try and get their IP onto their platform,
Mhm.
and they do an amazing job with it
And
always.
This was an important game for them because the Wii U era was very bad for Nintendo.
Yes,
That console was a massive loss. Not a lot of people bought it. The games didn't do very well,
No.
even though, frankly, objectively speaking, they were pretty good games.
they were.
The console just didn't do good, and really the 3DS sales are what kept the company as a whole.
It really
afloat
did.
during those years.
And this is kind of like, and once they came out with the Switch, kind of going into the stuff. I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves about a little bit.
But the Switch has been a massive success for Nintendo.
Humongous.
It's brought
It's-
it back from the brink, and
It really was.
even now in 2021, the console is 4 years old, and sales are better than they've ever been.
It's extremely hard to still. It's still extremely hard to get one. I mean, most of what you can get are the newer versions, which are the Joy Cons that are attached to the
Mhm.
screen already.
The Switch Lite. But a lot of people
Yeah.
have sat around asking, like, is Nintendo going to make a HD Switch?
Which
And they might.
they actually announced it.
Oh, did they?
They did announce it. They had some rumblings a while back. They announced it a little bit a while ago. It's a slightly bigger version of the original one, and it's the same thing, but it's going to have upres. I think it's up to, I think I want to say it's 1080p. And so it looks,
Yeah.
it's going to be nicer. It's got some upgraded hardware in it a little bit. It's like a slightly upgraded version, in my opinion. It's not
I
like,
have to decide if it's enough to buy another one. It probably isn't.
in my opinion, it's not. If you haven't bought one yet, go ahead and buy one.
Yeah, if it's just going to be like upscaling games, then
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be that much better. It'll be fine.
It won't. I think,
Because even on my 4K TV, the 780p Switch looks great.
yeah,
It's fine.
that's what I said. And in most of the games that you play on there, which the games they came out with, and they've come out with for the Nintendo, like Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, the new Super Mario Party games, things like that, they don't require a ton. They're not graphically intense. I mean, they look gorgeous, but they've scaled it in such a way and done the artwork in such a way that it looks good for the game.
Nintendo has gone for a more stylized,
Yes.
maybe cartoony is the wrong word, but a very stylized graphical style instead
Mhm.
of going like the hyper realistic route that you see in some of the cutting edge like PS5 games,
Yeah.
which the Switch hardware wouldn't do anyway.
No, it wouldn't. Not at all.
So it's good they play to their strengths, and it fits like the Nintendo feeling anyway. I mean, people play Nintendo games to feel good.
Exactly. So let me ask you this. If you're thinking that they might try to come out and compete a little bit graphically or something like that, do you think they would make a dock system that allows you to play games in an upscaled version? or at least have hardware that like runs off of the Switch.
It would put them into a difficult position, I think, because if they want to maintain compatibility between the original Switch and hypothetically like a 4K HD Switch,
yeah,
is there even room on those little flash cartridges for a 4K game? I don't know that there is.
that's the thing is, and you'd end up being. I mean, it'd be like
reason like 4K games are on Blu-ray discs now. They just take a massive amount of space.
Well, talking about that a little bit, that's a reason why you look at some things like I had to. My brother-in-law actually got me Doom a while back for the Switch when it first came out, and I remember the download for that was enormous. It was literally like I had to download something like 10. No, I think it was like 8 gigs. I had to put on my Switch.
And that was for the low-res Switch version. Because I know like the PC install is more like 20 gigs.
That's ridiculous. So you can imagine the amount of space you would have for something like that. So you would have to exponentially increase the
a micro SD card, which is what the Switch cartridges are. I guess it has the space,
but they only support up to 64 gigs, from what I remember.
No, they sell 128. They even sell 256.
Is that a? Well, I know they sell them, but are they compatible with the new systems though?
I don't know if they're compatible with the Switch. I mean, I know the Switch's like hard drive expansion slot can take a 256 or a 512 even.
Okay, but that might be compatible. That might be an actual component that Nintendo has to sell to you or something like that.
I don't know. It would definitely make the cost of producing the cartridges more expensive.
That's what I would kind of think. But
I don't know what percentage of their sales the cartridges even are at this point.
No, I wouldn't know. But luckily, with what they've gotten so far, is they've gotten a breadth of catalog. Pardon the pun, a little bit with the breadth of a while. But
so we're getting wild to talk. Yeah, the Switch has revitalized Nintendo. Yeah. It's between Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey.
I think
those two titles have enough. That's what I bought the system for, is to play those two games.
Yeah.
But it's been a huge library for indie games of all types. It's just a natural fit for, and the whole hybrid handheld big screen thing has worked out very well for them.
And it's phenomenal. So before we get super deep into Super Mario Odyssey, I know we've already we talked about it last episode, which if I'm pulling the curtain back a little bit, guys, we since we've done 2 episodes in a row, it's not going to be much new. But have you done anything that you didn't talk about last episode?
Sure, we can talk about. There's another new anime out that I've been enjoying a lot along with Kelly, Jujutsu Kaisen.
Okay.
Have you run into that one?
I have not. No.
So it's kind of like one of those high school shonen style anime. There's a character who ends up eating like the finger, one of the 10 fingers of a demon king.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
And he gains some of his cursed powers, and he gets enrolled in this academy for demon slayers.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to fight demons in Tokyo. There's political stuff going on between them and like rival schools. It's like some people think he should be killed because he's like a cursed spirit now, and some people think that they should use him to try and beat this over cursed spirit.
That's cool.
It's a nice shonen anime. It's good.
I'm gonna have to see if Jackie wants to watch it. That may be something she would like. But we have
a little more mature than something like My Hero Academia or something like that.
I've kind of noticed I do like the shows that I'm watching now, especially on Funimation that you put out there. I just kind of want something a little more, serious. Like it's kind of like wanting to watch something like Monster or a Steins Gate a little bit, where it's a little more serious and a little more heavy.
Did you watch Goblin Slayer?
It's been a while though, because I finished that season and they haven't come out with the second season yet.
Okay, so if you want like heavy, then Goblin Slayer, or I would say, well, Psycho-Pass is good, but that might be too close to home. That's kind of like a cop thing.
Yeah, it's a little too close. I tried watching it and I like it. It's just I couldn't really get into it all much. I did like it a lot though.
It's like I sat down and tried to watch Scrubs, and like, is it a good show? Sure.
But there's so many things you're like
it and actually relax. No, it just makes me stress out.
Yeah, you're like, that's not how you're supposed to do that. That's not how you're supposed to do that. You don't do that. It's like, oh my god, you're just losing your shit. It's kind of like me watching any kind of like NCIS thing, and I'm just like, that's not how the real world works. It's not how it works. And Jackie's like, well, why don't we just not watch it? And I'm like, no, I have to finish it now. I'm mad. It's just like, and then I just get mad at the show. But anyways, so it's one of those things that we haven't been watching a ton of anime, but that would be really cool to watch. Actually, we were watching. They actually just put Marie Antoinette, the one with Kirsten Dunst on HBO Max, and it's actually one of Jackie's favorite movies of all time. So obviously you're familiar with Marie Antoinette as the character. Yes. So what they do is they take a really interesting approach to this. Is an older movie. This came out in like, I want to say 2012, 2015. It was probably whenever she was in high school or college, one of the two. Anyways, so it's basically set up that it's all centered around Marie Antoinette. She, they start, she's a daughter of the German emperor. She gets married off to Louis of France, and they end up becoming queen. But the whole time, they basically only center around them in Versailles and all the fun stuff that they have. It's all so much fun. It's like a feel-good movie, and they completely ignore the plight that's going out around the world. And so they just kind of like focus on the extravagance of how much they were spending and how much they were doing while the whole rest of the country was basically just falling apart.
Yeah, and that's something interesting for me, like in this historical stuff, is a lot of people don't realize how we talk about like wage gap and stuff these days, but historically speaking, the gap between the super wealthy and the poor was much, much larger.
Much wider,
and, you watch something like that, and it's eye-opening.
And it's definitely not as like good as it could be nowadays, but it's definitely better than what it was. But looking at something like that, you can see the sheer extravagance. Like they literally have sweets for every single meal, and they do a thing that it's amazing to watch in historical context. They come out whenever Marie and Louis come out for dinner. They make it a point. You see them almost every day, like throughout points in their life. They do a breakfast meal with them, and they show the amount of food for 2 people.
Yeah,
is freaking insane. It's the amount of food that it would take like you and I to eat a week to eat, ingest.
At the time, these days people like build houses and stuff to show how wealthy they are. People did that back then too, but construction was a lot slower. That was the work of generations. So how do you show your wealth every day? You show it in the food that you eat.
Yeah.
Nothing had anything like Renaissance France did. And so you might lay out 20 or 30 dishes for a meal, and you would just pick through the ones you like best.
Yeah.
I know some of the French kings from that time period were known to throw extravagant parties with hundreds of dishes for each meal.
Yeah.
They would like walk them past the king, and he would take whatever he wanted off the plate, and then it would go to the rest of the table to be served.
So talking about that, I know we're getting way off Super Mario Odyssey topics, but
watching Tasting History with Max Miller, and this is actually really interesting stuff.
It is really cool. I do like you look at talking about parties. So the guy, the king that built Versailles, you know why Versailles was built?
I do not.
So Jackie told me this. I'm going to give kudos for her, seeing as she's a French and Spanish major, or aficionado. She's more of a Spanish major, but she definitely kind of dipped into French a little bit. So the king that had built Versailles, he didn't have what happened was he had a finance minister before he built Versailles. The finance minister was embezzling funds the whole time, because this was back in I'm going to say 50 years before Marie Antoinette, maybe a little bit more than that. Anyways, finance minister embezzling funds, actually becomes the richest man in France. Plans on throwing a big party and then skipping town, essentially.
Okay.
So what he does is he builds his own little palace, things like that, right outside of France, and just throws the most extravagant party. Literally, it was like when people were coming in for the party, he was giving away jewels to people.
This is a party favor.
As a party favor.
Wow.
And had invited the king of France to this party. Yeah. Well, the king gets super jealous, apparently. And was like, well, nobody throws a party better than I am. Doesn't even cross his mind that, hey, this guy's embezzling funds from me and is stealing money from me. He gets pissed that he throws a better party than him, then locks him up, investigates him, finds out he's stealing money from him, kills this guy, and then proceeds to go, well, I'm going to build a better place to have a party, and he builds Versailles. That's why Versailles is around.
Yes.
Isn't that ridiculous?
It is ridiculous.
And it's literally from sheer envy. That's the only reason Versailles is around. It's basically you want to show off your flaunt your money? Well, I'm going to flaunt my money even more. It's who's got the bigger package kind of thing, essentially.
It's good to be the king.
It's essentially, that's what it was. And I was just like, that's insane. But anyway, so we like went way off topic there. I know we went
Yes.
down rabbit hole there, but
So, you
talking
know,
about
Super Mario Odyssey.
Super Mario Odyssey, talking about monumental and history changing events. This was a history changing event, in my opinion, for the Nintendo Switch.
It was.
You like that? You like that segue? That was pretty good, wasn't
That was a pretty good segue. So they started developing this game in late 2013.
Yes.
It was made by the same development team as Super Mario 3D World, which is another excellent game. And
Yes.
the Bowser's Fury one is out now for that.
Yes.
If you haven't played it yet. It was made with the assistance of 1UP Studio. The director was Kenta Motakura for this one. If you may remember from our Mario RPG, that Shigeru Miyamoto has been the lead on pretty much every Mario game up until this point.
I mean, essentially,
This is where he's kind of stepping back to it more of an executive role.
Yeah, he kind of does creative control. Basically, kind of says, "Hey," he basically gives the blessing for any Mario projects. Is what he does.
Yeah, and you've seen this in a lot of the Nintendo core properties, like the figures that made the original games personally are starting to step back and train their replacements. Yeah. And that means that he's acting more as a supervisor and less as a direct project.
Because at this point, he's in his mid to late 50s, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, but now even like in 2021, I think he's 64, probably.
And so he's trying to get to the point where he can actually retire and trust the studio to somebody.
I don't know if I'd be fair. I don't know if he's ever going to retire, but
retirement's not like a big thing in Japan.
and especially for him, it's just, anyways, though.
This is kind of his baby. But in any case, the game was apparently based around the theme of surprise.
Oh.
They were trying to do this thing where players were going to explore and be surprised and find and discover things. So, as people are probably aware, it's kind of like a sandboxy open world game. There's a series of worlds that you go through.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fairly linear progression of worlds, but inside each world, it's an open sandbox.
Yeah, which was kind of nice, you know?
It is really nice. And whenever they were producing this game, they were trying to think of how they can show off the new Switch mechanic, which is the Joy-Con controllers. And Nintendo had been playing with motion controllers for a long time. Like
they did that with the Wii U. Yeah, they did the whole bowling thing and all that stuff, and it was fun. And they kind of like they tempered that. They didn't temper it. Sorry, they kind of played around with that with the Zelda game from the Wii, I believe. Whenever you can kind of do the bow mechanic a little bit.
There was a bow mechanic, and there was also a sword swing on Skyward Sword. And
it was okay. It wasn't great though.
The nunchucks motion sensors were actually pretty rudimentary.
Yeah,
I mean, like they could kind of point at the screen, but in terms of actually detecting your motion,
it wasn't
do very much. Now, the Switch's motion controls are much more sensitive.
Yes,
and they wanted to show that off a little bit in this game. Mm-hmm. So they eventually decided that the action of throwing a hat was something they liked doing with the Switch controller.
To be fair,
and that became a theme of the game, and that's where Cappy came from.
That's right. And do you want to describe what Cappy is?
So Cappy is so every 3D Mario game has like a companion for Mario. That's usually something who mixes up the gameplay a little bit. Like there's the jetpack from Super Mario Sunshine, and it's just they function as a storytelling device and also as a gameplay device. And so in this one, you have Cappy. He is a sentient hat from the Kingdom of Caps, which is where you start the game at. And he takes the place of Mario's hat for most of the game.
That's right, he does.
The core mechanic of the game is that you can throw Cappy onto an enemy, and then you capture them, and you become that enemy for a while.
Yep.
And in the climax of the game, you actually get to play as Bowser for a little bit.
Just a tiny bit,
tiny bit.
But it's still fun, though.
And the song there is actually pretty good. So
it is really good. So they take this Joy-Con mechanic with the hat capture system mechanic, and they really this was the central theme that, like you said, that they kind of like moved it around, that you basically can capture different types of baddies throughout the game, and enter different types of objects to try and figure out puzzles to collect moons throughout the game. Correct?
Yes, and this is focusing in on like the core 3D Mario thing, which is we talked about this for our Mario 64 game. It's the really fluid mechanics for movement. It's got the same like jump, triple jump, side jump, spin jumps. They've really preserved those mechanics through the games, and they are just beautifully smooth in this one.
So going off that a little bit, the mechanics and the world building that they set up, this is what you saw in Super Mario 3D World, which came out for the Wii U, and they also kind of take the mechanics from Super Mario Galaxy a little
Yes,
bit
this
and
is
kind of
more
roll
like-
it into that.
Yeah, this is whereas 3D World is a great game. It's more like a 2.5D to 3D
Yeah.
take on its named Super Mario 3D World. It really reminds me of Super Mario World for the Super NES.
Yes.
This is like a 3D Mario title, so this is the same vein as Super Mario 64. You mentioned Super Mario Odyssey, Super Mario Sunshine. This is
Galaxy, all of that. Yeah.
yeah, and this is like that series of games.
Mhm.
And so it has this this moon mechanic. But whereas in the previous games, like you would enter the stage by selecting there's been stars and powered moons and all that.
All this stuff.
You
Yeah.
select the moon that you're going to get, and then you go into the stage, you collect that moon, and then you leave,
Yeah.
and you go back in.
You can go back and forth.
This one is more of an open world where there is a big sandbox. Like the first kingdom that after the hat one is the Cascade Kingdom, which is like a dinosaur-y themed area. And it has like 20 odd moons or something.
Roughly, yeah.
Every stage has a couple of story moons. Like there's a little mini
They have to get,
you have to get. But otherwise, it's just open exploration.
Yeah. Hey, if it's basically like, hey, if you want to try and find these, you can find these. You can literally go around the whole area and find all the moons if you want, and some of them will progress a little bit, but
you only, whereas there's like 20 in the area, you only actually need like 7 to progress the story.
Yeah, not a lot. Yeah.
And so for Cascade Kingdom, for example, you'll get 3 for beating Madame Brutal, who is like one of the bosses,
One of the big
area.
baddies. Yeah.
But otherwise, you can get like any other 4 moons. Like there's one for like smashing a wall as a chain chomp. There's one where you can capture a dinosaur and run around and smash some little,
which was phenomenal because a dinosaur with a Mario hat and a mustache looks hilarious.
Something I did not realize I needed in my life.
you definitely did that in your life. So, but yeah.
So and that's kind of what it is. It's these super dense, polished environments that you're going kind of from one to one, and there's just a ton to explore.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you said, there's so much to explore because they have how many levels or how many worlds do they have? Do they have 8 or 9?
Oh, let me think. There's Cap, there's Cascade, there's Sand,
there's New Donk,
there's Water.
Water. I'm trying to think. There's the
forest one.
Yeah.
There's
the moon. Is there a lava level?
There's the beach one.
That's what I was thinking of. Maybe, yeah. I think.
And then there's the dark side of the moon, and there's Mushroom Kingdom.
Okay, so there's 10. Okay, so that's on because 10 is usually normally what they put in there roughly. Yeah. I know they try to put in that 10 number, at least get 10 in there. So but yeah, they do enough of these that you can spend hours because I think there's a total of is it like 200 or 300 moons?
800.
800? Oh my god, I was way off. That is ridiculous. I didn't think there was that many.
A lot. Well, so you may not realize, but actually, after you beat Bowser, you can go back and those giant metal cubes in every single level. If you go up to them after you've beaten Bowser, you can unlock them, and it pretty much doubles the number of moons in each world.
Oh wow! Okay, well
those are hidden and they are much harder to get to.
Well, I have not done that yet, so and that's kind of I started to replay it probably about 6 months back, and I just kind of got lost because I got sidetracked because I really wanted. That's about the time they announced Super Mario 3D World with the Bowser's Fury thing, so I was really wanting to get that, so I kind of held off because I know I knew that if I kept playing, I wasn't going to want to get it, and I was going to get burnt out on Mario because I don't know how you are, but
that's 880 actually.
Oh my god, that is ridiculous! I'm sure somebody's found them all.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, easily.
That's insane though. But anyways, that I would love to see.
Would you like to know what the speedrun record is?
So yeah, let's do a quick little speedrun section.
To collect all 880 moons, 8 hours and 16 minutes.
No.
As of May 27th.
No.
That's actually 2018. It's probably a lot faster than that now.
Still screw it. I know that's ridiculous. So let's do we'll look it up later, but yeah, we're gonna do a couple little speedrun facts about this because this is one of those games that people have found, even though there's not a whole lot of game break mechanics in it, there are definitely some tricks and tips.
Actually be surprised. There's quite a few.
Oh really? Okay.
So the 3D Mario games have been popular for speedrunning forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mario 64 is one of the most speedrunning
at
the time. And Super Mario Odyssey, pretty much from the moment it got released, was a speedrunning game. I think within a day or two of it being released, someone posted the first run, which was like an hour and a half or something to beat the game.
Yeah.
Which, for a brand new game, was ridiculous.
Exactly. And it's like, what? Hey.
At this point, they've gotten I think the runtime is like 56 or 57 minutes to complete.
It's 57 minutes. I just looked it up a little while
ago.
It's the
fastest they've gotten.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely bonkers.
What other speedruns have there been, James?
So my personal favorite, I watch a guy called Smallant, and he does a speedrun called Minimum Captures.
Yeah.
Where the goal is to use Cappy to capture the least number of things possible to finish the game.
Yeah. And so that's a pretty basic game mechanic to try to beat the game is, to get moons and all that other stuff. Yeah.
Yes. And the things they do are ridiculous. So, for example, for the very first level for the Cascade Kingdom, there's a lot of required captures. Like you have to capture the dinosaur to knock over the pillar of the first moon. You have to. There's 3 captures minimum you have to do to beat Madame Brutal, and that's and there's also some other power moons that you can't get to without a capture as well. Yes. So just to get through the first level, they have to go out of bounds like 7 or 8 times. Like,
oh my God. That is insane that they it's insane that
they actually clip out of bounds in the first platform next to the first power moon.
Okay.
And there is some geometry inside the level out of bounds that you can jump on, but it's invisible and is blind. And so they jump through the whole thing and they actually come out in the 2D section in the pipe area.
That is insane and cool. Wow. I love that. I love people, man. I love how people are like, I'm going to try and break this game.
But there's actually not enough moons you can get in the kingdom without capturing things that way. You'll come up one short.
Oh,
so how do they get the last power moon for the kingdom?
How, James?
You remember the island in the sky in the Cascade Kingdom?
You briefly,
you come to later, there's actually a portal in a different kingdom where you're supposed to go through the painting and come to that area, and there's one power moon on top of the island. It's actually impossible to jump up there, but if you play the game in 2-player mode, the second player will control Cappy separately from Mario.
Yes.
And so what the people do is they take one controller with their hands, they put the second controller on the ground and use their feet to control Cappy.
Nope.
And if you do the correct jump up into the sky, you can get just high enough that you can actually push Cappy across the map, capture the checkpoint with Cappy, and then teleport up to the island in the sky.
Nope.
And that's actually one of the simpler tricks they do for the run.
That is ridiculous. So now I want to sit down and that might be my thing that
you should watch one of these speedruns. Or
during my study break tonight, I might just go down a hole probably and just take a look and see. But that would be amazing to watch.
Yeah.
The simple fact that somebody took the time to hey, this is how I wonder if I can do this, and they took the time to go doop 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 doop. See, for me, I don't know, you and I, we'd probably we try it 4 or 5 times. We're it's not possible. Then we just move on. Yeah. This is somebody that probably spent days trying to figure this out.
Yeah. So the original minimum captures run was 13 captures, I think. And that was felt to be the minimum number. They've got it down to 3 now.
That is dang.
3 captures to finish the game.
That is insane.
Well, for example, in Bowser's Kingdom, there's 5 captures in Bowser's Kingdom to go from each mini island to each mini island.
Yeah.
They get through that with what's called a Cappy return cancel, where you do a complicated trick where you send Cappy out into the map blindly, trying to get it into the right direction, and then you do another trick which pulls Cappy back to you and then cancels it when it hits something. And if you've done the trick just right, you'll hit the checkpoint on the way back, and then you can teleport to the next island without capturing something. It's thoroughly ridiculous.
I love the
people have done is. And the fact that they've got the speed run time for the min captures is 1 hour 15 now.
God dang.
Or an hour 13. It's only 20 minutes slower than the regular speed run is.
That is so cool. But yeah, so let's get into the game a little bit more before we kind of gush a little bit more on the. I love that kind of speed run. One last speed run.
Yeah, one last thing. The way that you skip getting up onto the floating island where you fight the Mega Brutal is called a nut jump.
Describe the nut jump, James.
So there are some nuts in the game, and you throw them in pots and you make giant beanstalks. Well, it turns out that if you have the nut and you get it wet, and the trick only works when the nut is wet, then you can actually pick up the nut, throw it, jump, dive bomb, pick up the nut in midair, and repeat this infinitely. Now, the timing is complicated because it's not a consistent timing pattern, so you have to pay attention. But if you can do about 50 consecutive nut jumps, you can get from the platform up to the Bowser Island without capturing the player.
I'm done.
It's ridiculous.
I'm done.
It's thoroughly ridiculous to watch.
That is insane to watch.
It's an almost frame perfect trick, and you have to do it like 50 times.
I'm sure somebody's like, I've done this like 40, 50 times, and I'm just like, you know what? Screw you. I'm done. I'm lucky if I can barely beat the game. It's just like, that is insane, man.
It's absolutely insane.
I love that though. I love that somebody's able to do that though. It just shows somebody's dedication and just like love for the game that they're willing to break it. In my opinion, that's how I was. We've kind of talked about it that a little bit, but
I'm a big fan of speedrunning stuff in general.
But yeah, so if you guys like that speedrunning kind of thing, just give us a call, or not give us a call. Let us know about it and give us some more examples of the speedrunning in a community that Mario Odyssey has. So I would like to hear some of the more obscure ones. I'm sure there are a ton out there, but yeah. Definitely. So as you kind of like progress through the game, obviously you said that you have all these different ways of capturing moons and going through the game and things like that. So what is the actual like whole end goal of the game? Because I know there's the basic story of Bowser capturing
so
Peach.
Bowser has captured Peach, and Cappy's like lady cat friend has been forced to be Peach's crown, and Bowser's like trapezing through the world.
Yeah.
Getting the stuff he needs to marry Peach forcibly at the big chapel on the moon.
Not creepy at all.
So, like, from one kingdom, he takes, like, this is, like, the water kingdom. He takes, the special heirloom dress. And
yeah.
One kingdom has, like, a giant, like, rock of a diamond ring. And he's, like, going through the game, collecting all this stuff, and you're, like, following up behind him for the most part, being like, oh, I'm going to catch up to you.
The typical Mario Bowser,
Mario Bowser relationship.
Yeah.
And you go, Luncheon Kingdom. I forgot one. That's 11.
Luncheon Kingdom?
Luncheon Kingdom, the food one.
Oh, I totally forgot about that one. Yeah, I remember now. Because I hated the goo stuff that you had to jump in. Yeah,
and the dark side of the moon has a darker side. So
yeah,
I think there's
12.
Yeah.
Wow, good call.
Yeah.
I'm glad that randomly popped to you just then. So, anyways,
Luncheon Kingdom was a good one.
Oh.
But anyway,
it happens.
While you're going through there, Bowser has some henchmen called the Brutals, and these are like these rabbit-themed enemies, which I think is kind of a nod to the Mario and Rabbids Kingdom battles.
A little bit, yeah.
They're not like directly related characters, but the rabbits have kind of been part of the
They're
Mario
kind of like the Axum Rangers of Mario Odyssey a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Because they all have their own little theme and color a little bit and different like attacks and things like that.
And so each kingdom has a boss fight with one of the brutal children. Kind of similar to how the previous games have had like Bowser's kids like Iggy and stuff at the end of each world. And that's kind of it. Like at the end of your goal for each kingdom is to collect a certain number of power moons that lets you power up your ship and make it powerful enough to get to the next kingdom area.
Yeah, because that's one of the mechanics is the whole thing, how you travel. So that's what they get rid of. They get rid of the big hub area that is in a lot of Mario games. Like whenever you go through, like say
Mario Galaxy had a big hub area,
big hub and things like that, and especially like with like the overworld thing, they put in that kind of the overworld thing where you travel from world to world to world inside your cap ship. Essentially, Cappy's like, hey, I have this cap ship. Oh, this one looks like it's out of commission. Let's try to get it going with some moons. Yada yada yada. And you basically like build up the sails so you can catch up to Bowser. That's kind of like your central area that you have. So, and I thought that was kind of a really interesting mechanic that they put that in there. That they're like, hey, we're gonna have this little area that you sit in and they travel. It's kind of really reminiscent of that overworld view that you have in some of the old Mario games.
It is. And I do like what they've done where they got rid of like the big hub world, because it makes it feel more like a world. Because that's one criticism I had of games like Super Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine has this too, where it doesn't feel like an open world because it's not. It's still kind of levels.
Segmented,
it's levels with a hub, and this just feels like a series of locations that you're traveling to.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can like collect regional coins and buy souvenirs for your ship is super cool.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I had to get all of them. Like
as you did.
There was the decal for the ship, and there was like the little statue and the outfit from Mario.
I did get quite a few of them. Then on top of that, you can also buy little outfits for all Mario too.
Yes, which I had to have those too. I got all the coins on every kingdom.
That's why I love you to death. But yeah, you can do all this kind of. They gave all these nice little collectible things in there that you can do. There are side things that you can try and build up as you go along, which I enjoyed that they threw that in there because a lot of times they don't. They usually do put things like that in a lot of the other games. Like Super Mario 3D World, it's the green stars and the stickers,
Yeah.
and in Super Mario Odyssey, I'm trying to remember what it was. What was it in Super Mario Odyssey? You remember? Having a brain fart.
Well, Odyssey's the one we're talking about now.
Super Mario Sunshine is what I was thinking. I think
I don't remember what Sunshine had.
I can't remember, but I know they do that in kind of like every other.
There's always collectibles.
There's always a little collectible. And they started putting that in some of the games, even more and more prominently. But so obviously you have all these game mechanics and the storyline.
They had blue coins in Sunshine that you had to use them to unlock some stuff for the story.
That's what I was thinking of.
Coins, yeah.
I couldn't remember. And it's always either green or blue or something like that. And it's always some really random thing that they throw in there. But so as you go throughout the game, you obviously you build up the power from your ship, and you end up fighting Bowser at the very end, and you actually end up taking him over a little bit. But it's how do you like the game as a whole?
And the game as a whole is a wonderful experience.
Okay.
I mean, I love sandbox games in general. We've established that before.
Yes.
This is also a 3D platformer, which I love too. It's great. I like it a lot. It doesn't scratch the same like puzzling itch as something like Banjo and Kazooie or something like that does, but it's just such a free-form open game that it's just really a pleasure to play and to run around and to find everything.
Oh, hey, just totally read this. Did you know that after you beat the game, you actually unlock a 13th level, which is Peach's Castle?
Yes, that's actually one of the cooler stages.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that. That was kind of interesting that they throw that in there. And that's where you get, I guess that's why, you could roughly have roughly around 100, a little bit less than about 100, but 75 moons per level, I guess, almost.
Yep.
That's insane. But yeah.
So, yeah, and the game actually has several kind of love letters to the Mario series in general. And New Donk City is easily the biggest level.
Absolutely.
And it has its story section is this like celebration of Mario as a series.
Yeah.
And so there's this little segment where you like are going through and collecting stuff to throw this party. And they have this great big party with a power ballad song to go with it about, One Jump Man, I think is what it was.
Yep, that's what they call him, which and the person that they have set up and to sing it, the character is Paulina.
Is Paulina.
And you want to explain who Paulina is?
She is the princess character from the original Donkey game. That is the woman that Donkey Kong was grabbing.
Yeah, it was never Princess Peach. Princess Peach first appeared in the Super Mario game.
Yes.
Not the Donkey Kong game, which is kind of most people get confused with.
Yep. Back when he was just Jumpman.
Jumpman. He is Jumpman. So other things they throw in there. So they do like as you go through and you get all these little things in New Donk City. They do homages to all the older games a little bit, don't they?
They do a lot of them, and especially in the Mushroom Kingdom at the very end, the Princess Castle. The whole castle from Super Mario 64 is recreated. And you can if you go into the right cave, you'll turn into the Super Mario 64 sprite.
That's right, you will. So that specifically tells me that they can recreate Super Mario 64 as and remaster it, because I've seen people do that with the Unreal Engine. Like they took the graphics and they shifted it over, and it looks like they can do it. They just don't want to.
It'd be a lot of work, yeah.
They'd also make a lot of money.
They probably would.
But it just boggles my mind why they wouldn't do it. But without going down on Nintendo. But anyways, so as they go through, you have all these other little niceties that they throw in there. They have the photo mode, which allows you to take pictures of Mario as you go through. They also allowed it to where you have these, the amiibo figures that they have in there. They allow you to add. It's basically Nintendo's answer to Skylanders, which is ridiculous, but allows you to get a few extra little special abilities throughout the game and special costumes if you want to do that.
One thing that is fun is the Luigi's Balloon World.
Yeah,
which has gotten kind of ridiculous. When it first came out, it was fun for me, and now it is not, because people have started hiding the moons out of bounds.
Really?
To be cheeky, yes.
Oh my god! So, do you want to explain what
Luigi's Balloon World? You get just like a few seconds. It's like 10 seconds or something. Yeah. To carry a balloon from the starting point to wherever you want to leave it.
Yeah.
And if you pick up coins along the way, it adds seconds to the clock. And wherever you are when the time finishes, that's where the balloon is left. And then whenever someone plays the Luigi's Balloon World game, they have to donate a certain number of coins, and if they get the balloon, they get like the bounty for it,
Mhm.
and it builds up as people play it. And if you go through and you see a balloon with like a few hundred coin bounty or something,
Yeah.
you know it's probably hidden out of bounds somewhere. So people are hiding their balloons like inside of the geometry of the level.
That's
They're
ridiculous.
doing clips and stuff to get out there.
So that's the kind of thing where you just kind of look at it and you're like, wow, you guys are just evil. Why would you do this? It's just but anyways, that's the kind of fun little things on that. Like they actually have, like you said, they have that leaderboard system that you try to get to, and it looks like leaderboard system that was set up for the finding the most balloons.
Yeah, there's also a couple of Koopa races that have leaderboards.
They have that, yeah.
There's a jump rope mini game that has a leaderboard.
Yeah, well, that's how you get one of the stars. But I've watched people do like stupid long jump runs, and I'm like, why 30 minutes to do? That's ridiculous.
If there's a leaderboard, then someone will take it way too far.
Yep,
that is the rule of video games.
That is absolutely true. So, but anyway, so let me ask you this: Would you recommend this to anybody or nobody?
Considering I've been gushing about it, yes, I think this game you could recommend for anybody.
Okay,
it's definitely going to appeal most to people who like those 3D platform open world exploration type things. But this is such a solid game in general. I think anybody of any age would enjoy this one.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to give it 2 thumbs down.
2 thumbs down.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. Not at all. Not at all. I'm actually giving it like 2 huge thumbs up. I actually liked this. I like this game so much that I actually started letting my nephews play it. Paul and Isaac, and they actually got through the first Cappy world by themselves. They were having a little trouble with the first boss. But it with Mama, what's her face? Madame Brutal. And they were actually Isaac was like, "Can I keep playing?" And I'm like, "You've been playing for 30 minutes, bud." I was like, "Your mom's gonna kill me if you let you play anymore." But yeah, he was really enjoying it.
But yeah, and that's one good thing about it is there is enough easy, low-hanging fruit moons for a kid to get through the game and have fun.
Absolutely, and there's enough hard stuff to challenge people like us.
There's enough challenging stuff for adults. Like some of the harder moons to get to are frankly ridiculous.
Yeah, and there's things like that where it's literally like, unless you're a significantly dedicated fan of this game, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to get that stuff.
And so one thing too is the people have recently cracked modding on the Switch, and someone is doing a Kaizo Super Mario Odyssey.
That's
amazing.
amazing.
And you haven't watched some footage from it. Like, it's really ridiculous.
I did hear that somebody had started doing that. Actually, one guy actually got sued because Nintendo took him. He was modding Switches and selling them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so don't sell them. Buy them yourselves and mod them for your own personal use is what I would suggest. So
modding your own equipment is not illegal.
Yes.
Profiting from the modification of Nintendo's equipment is illegal.
And they get real pissy real fast.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I actually read that recently. That was in the last month or so. They took him to court over it. So
yeah, he was selling the program people were using to mod.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay. So don't buy that product. Got it.
Yes, and and one thing people don't realize is like if Nintendo wants to keep their copyright on their products, they have to defend themselves from stuff like this.
So I understand why it's a company that they do it. It's just kind of like, oh, okay. But yeah, so if you like doing that kind of modding stuff, guys, and you got the money to waste, go ahead and buy a Nintendo Switch and have fun with it. I'm just saying, just don't profit off. But yeah, so that is our Super Mario Odyssey episode.
Yeah, needless to say, it won tons of awards.
Oh God, yeah,
more than 20 million sales.
It still sells.
It still sells like hotcakes. It's a great game.
I really hope so. Things to come from that, actually. So in the future, I don't know if you've gotten to Bowser's Fury portion of the 3D world yet.
I have not. We've gotten through World 2. We've just kind of been playing it like one world at a time.
It's okay. It's a fun little game. The only reason I did is because so that's the only downside of playing with a friend.
So you were just going through it.
Just powering through it because I didn't have to watch my kid and didn't have any other things to do. So I was just sitting down here playing like crazy. So, but with Bowser's Fury, the game mechanics they throw in there, I'm really hoping that is what they're going to be doing with the game in the future because it's definitely a build off of Super Mario Odyssey.
Oh.
And it looks, so if you like Super Mario Odyssey, I have a strong feeling you're going to love the Bowser's Fury portion of it. And they throw a few more game mechanics in there, and they take a lot of things from 3D World and put them into that Odyssey style gameplay.
See, that would be cool. Like, I really am digging the cat suit.
Yeah, and they do that, and they do like an inventory system where you can actually like use different items multiple times to try and get to different parts. So I had like the different like little,
So kind of like Mario meets Zelda.
kind of a little bit,
Okay.
and it's still really fun. But they don't do like an actual like inventory system where it pops up like that. So it's good. It's fun. So tell me how you feel about it. We'll go over Bowser's Fury whenever it comes out, whenever you get to it. But anyways, guys, that is our Super Mario Odyssey episode that James and I just spent probably 45 minutes gushing with a tiny little bit of a Marie Antoinette side
Yeah,
bar.
40 minutes of Mario, 20 minutes of French history.
That's right. Anyway, so that's our episode for today, guys. If you guys liked what you heard today, if you guys don't like what you heard today, hit us up on social media. Let us know what we did wrong, what we did right. If you like this episode, like it. Leave us a review. It helps out a ton, guys. It tells that algorithm that we're doing what you guys want us to do, and it says it pushes us up higher and tells us, hey, these guys are cool. Maybe not cool, but we're definitely talking about stuff you enjoy. How about that?
Yes.
Okay, so all right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. If there's anything you want us to talk about in the future, let us know, and we will hit it up shortly. Just a heads up, though, there might be a tiny little break in the episode releases. I don't know. I'm sure if you guys are following along, you guys know that my wife is getting ready to have the second child here pretty soon. And I don't know what kind of cramps and hiccups that's going to throw up into the scheduling here. So fingers crossed we can try and keep a consistent schedule here. I'm sure James will come over and help alleviate a little bit. So but anyways, guys, so keep your fingers crossed. We'll let you know what everything happens, if anything is going to change, and we will post it on the websites. So, all right, James, we're going to get out of here. Thanks for coming by and talking with me.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a wonderful day. Bye. If you're interested in keeping up to date with new episodes on our channel, add us on any of your favorite podcasting apps, or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Seriously Pointless Conversations. If you have questions or concerns, please email us at seriouslypointlessconvo@gmail.com. We appreciate any feedback. Thank you for listening to our show.